are having a good day so far. Today, we are doing our grade 8 English lesson on subject verb agreement. So, we're doing our grade 8 English lesson on subject verb agreement. And before we start with our lesson on subject verb agreement, you're going to log on to aplusstudents.ca. Once you've logged into aplusstudents.ca with your username as well as your password, and then you're going to select the subject of language arts, grade 6. All right. So once you have selected the language arts, grade 8, and then you're going to scroll down up until you get to the chapter of subject verb agreement. And you scroll down up until you get to the chapter of subject verb agreement. All right. So our chapter is subject verb agreement. Our subject is English language arts. Grade 8. And the lessons that we are focusing on is to use the correct verb with compound subject. So compound subjects. So our chapter is subject verb agreement. English is our subject, grade 8, and the lessons is to use the correct verb with compound subjects. And we are doing our tutorial lesson on aplusstudents.ca. So if you want to go back, recap, go over certain things, go over the work, yeah, we have the chapter, subject, grade, as well as lesson. And that is under aplusstudents.ca. All right, so now we're going to start with our lesson for today. So a compound subject, right? It is made up of two subjects that is joined by a conjunction, which is and, or, nor. So a compound subject is made up of two subjects that is joined by a conjunction and, or, nor. And, or nor. So an example is Mark and Amanda this week or next week or next. And then we have neither Josh nor my friends. So these are compound sentences or compound subjects that is made up of two subjects that is joined by a conjunction and or nor. And we said we have Mark and Amanda. This week or next, neither Josh nor my friends. So it's not one of us. And when a compound subject is joined by and, we use a plural verb. So you see, we don't say neither Josh and my friend. So when a compound subject is joined by and, we then use a plural verb. And plural verbs usually ends in s, es, or ies. So that is only when our compound subject is joined by and, then we use a plural verb that usually ends in s, es, or ies. So subject verb agreement, right? So that is our chapter for today. So subject verb agreement. So using singular verbs with singular nouns and plural verbs with plural nouns. So we use singular verbs with singular nouns and we use plural verbs with plural nouns. Example, the cat meows when he is hungry. So the cat meows when he is hungry. And there the word that is underlined is meows. So we don't just say the cat meow, it meows, and that becomes plural. The verb becomes plural when he is hungry. And just check how we use a plural noun. And now we have the cat's meow. So if your noun is singular, right, then the verb is plural. If your verb is plural, your noun is singular. So the cats meow when they are hungry. Cats. Mike plays the guitar. Plays the guitar. And my friends play the guitar. So these are examples of subject verb agreement. And we remember we said that with a singular noun, you have a plural verb, or already have a plural noun, we have a singular verb. And if we look at examples, right, of singular helping verbs, then it says, the girl has talked to me. So singular is just girl, and then has talked is, there we add a s. Has talked to me. And then we have the next one, which is the girls have talked to me. So the girls have talked to me. So this is basically just an example of singular verbs as well as first helping verb in pair of helping verb All right, we said that we are doing our lesson on A plus students.ca. So we're going to A plus students.ca. So we are back here by subject verb agreement, right? And we said that we are only doing one lesson, which is to use the correct verb with compound subjects. So let's go into that one. All right. So we said a compound subject, right? It is made up of two subjects that is joined by a conjunction, which is and, or, no. So a compound subject is made up of two subjects that is joined by a conjunction, which is and, or, nor. And we made an example. The very first example we made was Mark and Amanda. This week or next, neither Josh nor my friends. And when a compound subject is joined by and, we use the plural verb. And the plural verbs usually do not end in s or es or ies. So it's another example is like, where does Mark and Amanda go to school? So where does Mark and Amanda go to school? All right. And remember we said when a compound subject is joined by or nor, we use a verb that agrees with the subject that is closest to the verb. So the subject that is closest to the verb. This week or next seems likely to be hectic. And there we have the word or, right? So either or, it seems to be likely to be hectic. And if the subject closest to the verb is plural, then we use a plural verb. Again, plural verbs usually do not end in s, es, or ies. And after reading the reviews, neither Josh nor my friends expect the movie to be successful. So this is compound as compound subject, right? Under subject verb agreement. And usually, when it comes to compound sentences, compound subjects, it is basically, it gives an indication that a word is being joined, or words are joined by conjunctions. So that is basically compound, or a word that comes to mind when I hear compound. Because a compound subject, we said, is made up of two subjects that is joined by a conjunction. And we made an example of Mark and Amanda. Remember also, if you use a compound subject, right, can also be, like we said, it refers to it being singular or it being plural, right? So if I, which is a singular person, right? So singular person means that their verb or their action will be in a plural form, which is either it ends in s, es, or ies. All right, so now we're going to complete the sentence with the base verb. In the summer, either the apple tree by the back wall or next one, next to the garage, most fruit. So we can say it produce much fruits, right? We can say it produces much fruit. So produces is our word. On rainy days, Mitchell and his friend like to invent new board games. So like is the best verb. So on rainy days, Mitchell and his friends like to invent new board games. So the word that is missing is like. And these are subjects with a verb agreement and with compound words or compound sentences. So like was a verb or a base verb within that sentence. We need to complete the sentence with the best verb. When we stay at Mr. Kemp's farm, either the roosters or the pigs wake us up early in the morning. So when we stay at Mr. Kemp's farm, either the roosters or the pigs wake us up early in the morning. So the word like. So like was our best verb to complete the sentence. All right. When we take our three dogs to the park, our black lab or our golden retriever usually fetches the ball faster than our old English sheepdog. So fetches is the word, or let's say the best verb within that sentence. Fetches. So usually fetches the ball faster than our English sheepdog. So we said that fetches can be our verb, right? Because we need to complete the sentence with the base verb. So fetches is a verb or the missing verb that was in that sentence. And whenever we go camping, either Mimi or Christopher sets up, because if there's camp, then it sets up the tent while Josie and I start the campfire. So whenever we go camping, either Mimi or Christopher sets up the tent while Josie and I start the campfire. And depending on which of my relatives you ask, either Aunt Carly or Uncle James bakes the best rhubarb pie. So it says, depending on which of my relatives you ask, Aunt Carly and Uncle James bakes the best rhubarb pie. And there we have the or, which is Auntie Carly or Uncle James. All right, let us go to our test. So we need to complete the sentence with the base verb, right? So basically, we need to add the verb to that missing sentence. The award winning author and his editor, do we say speaks to the audiences or speak to the audiences? So the award winning author and his editor, do we say speaks to audiences and writers and students every week, or speak of writers and students every week? So we need to choose. Do we say he speaks or speak? So the award winning author and his editor speaks to audiences and writers and students every week. So do we say speaks or do we say speak? All right, so we can say they speak. So the award-winning author and his editors speak to audiences and writers on Sunday and students every week. So speak is correct. So remember, if a subject is plural, right, which refers to more than one, then our verb will be singular. If our subject is singular, then our verb will be plural. So in Mr. Griffin's beautiful old house, small statues and porcelain vases, do we say fill or fills the shelves of the living room and den? So in Mr. Griffin's beautiful old house, small statues and porcelain vases, do we say fills the shelves of the living room and den, or it fill the shelves of the living room and the den? All right. So Mr. Griffith is singular. His beautiful old house, small statues and porcelain vases. It fill the shelves in the living room and den. So remember we said if your verb is singular, then your subject should at least be plural, more than one. But if your subject is only one, then your verb needs to end with an S. It's like we add an S or ES or IES. On rainy days, Daryl and his friends like to invite new board games. So we can say Daryl and his friends like to invent new board games. So remember, so once again, if your subject is singular, your verb is plural, meaning it ends in an S, ES, or IES. But if your subject is plural, then your verb ends in singular, or your verb is basically a singular verb. No S, no ES, no IES. So on rainy days, Jala and his friends, so they like to invent new board games. They like to invent new board games. So Daryl and his friends is plural. So we just say like, no S. And depending on which of my relatives you ask, either Aunt Leah or Uncle Peter, can say bakes the best rhubarb cake. Let's see, it's either bake or bakes. So bakes is the best cake. And although the players and the coach, so players and coach, right? So although the players and the coach, do we say admit or do we say admits that the team struggles this team? They hope to do better next year. So this is players and the coach. That is plural. So although the players and the coach, do we say admit that the team struggles this season, they hope to do better next year? Or do we say although the players and the coach admits that the team struggled this season, they hope to do better next year? I remember we are saying that players and the coach, right, which is plural. I remember we said that if our subject is plural, then at least the verb needs to be singular. All right, let's try admits. Let's try admits. All right. Remember, I specifically chose admits, right? Because if your subject, which is players and coach within that sentence, right? If that is plural, because players refers to more than one player, and the coach still, right? Which means that that is a plural form, right? That is a plural form. So our verb is going to be singular. So it is admit. So it is singular. So when we stay at Mr. Kemp's farm, either the roosters or the pigs, do we say up, wake us up early, or they wakes us up early? And in this class, in this send, in this, what is the word? In this case, only we're only talking about Mr. Kent. Mr. Kent is singular. Remember, singular subject, plural verb. Plural subject, singular verb. So when we stay at Mr. Kemp's farm, either the roosters or the pigs wakes us up early in the morning. So wake it is. I apologize. So wake it is. So well done. Well done. You got it right. So wake it is. And whenever we go camping, right, either Martha or Oscar, do we say set up the tent while Sharon and I start the campfire, or sets up the tent while Sharon and I start the campfire? So whenever we go camping, either Martha or Oscar, they set up the tent while Sharon and I start or they set up the tent while Sharon and I start the campfire. Do we say set up or sets up the tent? So whenever we go camping, either Martha or Oscar, do we say set up the tent while Sharon and I start the fire, or set up the tent? All right, let's then choose, what do you say? Sits. Okay, let's see sits. Set up the tent. So well done. Sits is correct. So well done. Let's do the last one. Whenever the four of us play darts, Bianca or Ron always wins, Or do we say, oh, Blanca? So whenever the four of us play darts, Blanca and Run always wins. Or do we say, whenever the four of us play darts, Blanca or Run always win? So is it always win or always wins? So whenever the four of us play darts, Blanca and Run always wins or always win. So we need to complete the sentence with the best verb. So whenever the four of us play darts, Blanca and Run always win. So they always wins, right? So that is both of us who wins. All right. So now we said a subject verb agreement, right? It is a compound subject that is made up of two subjects that is joined by conjunction and or nor, right? So now let us go to A plus students, A plus classes.ca. So let us go to A plus classes.ca, A plus classes.ca. Once you've gone to A plus classes.ca, we're going to learning materials, then grades and grade 8. And we're going to scroll down up until we get to language arts. Yeah, we have our 3 different workbooks. Not the first one, but we go to the second one, which is practice grammar in this language arts workbook. And then we are going to scroll down up until we get to page 39. 39. So now we're going to scroll down up until we get to page 39. All right, so we said makings. So this is also about subjects and subject verb agreement, right? So making subjects and verb agree, right? We say that subjects and verbs in sentences must agree in number. And a singular subject calls for a singular form of verb, and a plural subject calls for a plural form of verb. And compound subjects require either a singular or plural verb depending on how the parts of the subjects are joined. For example, China, India, and the United States grow wheat, right? So that is plural. So China, India, and the United States, they grow wheat. And that is plural because it shows more than one country. And then neither Canada nor France grows as much wheat as India. So neither Canada nor France, right? We're specifically making mention of one of these countries, right? They grow as much wheat as India. So now we are going to underline the correct plural, the correct form, sorry, of the verb in parentheses within the brackets, right? So Miguel, does he plant or plants many vegetables in his gardens? In his garden. Miguel plant or plants many vegetables in his gardens. In his garden. So, what will be the correct verb that we will basically underline within that bracket or in parentheses? So, Miguel plants many vegetables in his garden, or Miguel plant many vegetables in his garden. And remember, it says that the subject, a singular subject, calls for a singular form of verb, and a plural subject calls for a plural form of verb. All right, so we can basically say that Miguel, he plants many vegetables in his garden. And let's do one more. Stephen and Derek often helps him care for the garden, or Stephen and Derek often help him care for the garden. So we need to then choose one of those words, one of the verbs in the sentence to complete the sentence. All right, so we can then basically say Stephen and Derek often help him care for the garden. All right, so this is making subject verb agreements on page 39 in the grammar practice workbook under language arts grade 8 on aplusclasses.ca. You can complete the rest of it. There's A, to identify subject verb agreements, and B, to use subject and verb agreement, right? And there they gave us a specific word in brackets, right? All right, so this is now the end of our lesson on subject verb agreement. Thank you very much, grade 8s, for joining the class. Thank you very much also for interacting. And I really hope that you are going to have an amazing evening further. Goodbye.